Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine your favorite slice of cake. You know, that perfect fluffy texture, the stable, creamy topping.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there are some real unsung heroes behind that experience, ingredients you might not even think about.
That's right.
Today, we are diving deep into the global market for those very things: cakes, emulsifiers, and topping bases.
Yeah, these aren't the headline ingredients like flour or sugar, but they are absolutely critical.
Critical how?
Well, they're kind of the science part, ensuring consistency, creating those textures we love, providing stability.
Ah, so the cake stays good for longer.
Exactly. Making sure that cake you loved yesterday tastes just as good today and, looks great too.
Right. And we're definitely not just talking about your kitchen baking here. This is a massive industrial market.
Oh, absolutely. Huge scale.
And to understand the forces at play in this fascinating, often unseen corner of the food industry, we're drawing insights from a specific Outlook report.
Yeah, and our mission really is to move beyond just the numbers and figure out the why and the so what. What are the key trends shaping this market? Where is the growth actually happening? And crucially, what does this mean for the sweets you find on shelves around the world?
Sounds good. So let's jump right in. What's driving this market globally, according to the source?
Well, the report points to a few key forces. First, there's just this growing demand for high-quality bakery products. Consumers seem willing to pay for better cakes.
Okay, better quality. Makes sense.
Then there's the huge push for clean label ingredients. That's a big one. It's challenging manufacturers to innovate.
Right, people want that quality, but they also want ingredients they recognize or, see as more natural,
Yeah.
less chemical-sounding names.
Precisely. And then add to that actual advancements in food emulsification technologies. Scientists are just getting better at creating these functional ingredients.
So better tools for the job.
Yeah. And also the simple fact that consumers want both shelf-stable products and indulgent experiences. These ingredients are what allow those desires, which can sometimes conflict, to be met on a large scale.
And the scale you mentioned. It's truly eye-opening. The report puts the global market revenue for these specific ingredients at over $1 billion. What was it? 129.8 million dollars in 2021.
Yeah, over 1.1 billion back then, and that grew significantly to 1,560 million, so 1.56 billion just by 2025.
Okay, quite a jump. But the projected future is where it gets really interesting, right?
Oh.
They forecast a surge to almost $3 billion.
That's right, $974.1 million by 2033.
Wow. That's nearly a threefold increase in just over a decade.
It is, and that kind of growth reflects a really robust compound annual growth rate, or CAGR. It's 8.4% over the forecast period.
8.4% CAGR.
Yeah, for a market segment that sounds so specific, like cake emulsifiers,
Yeah.
it's a very strong pace. It just shows how essential these ingredients are becoming.
Okay, so the global picture is clear. Significant growth happening. Where in the world is this expansion most pronounced? Let's get into the regions.
Well, the report breaks it down, and North America is currently a dominant contributor, a really big market.
Dumb it how? What are the numbers like?
The market there grew from around $345 million, 345.7 million to be exact, in 2021, and it's projected to approach $900 million by 2033, $889.3 million.
Nearly 900 million just in North America. And within that, I assume the U.S. is leading?
Oh, yeah. The United States is the powerhouse. Its market alone is projected to hit over $600 million, 612.7 million by 2033.
And the driver there?
Primarily driven by high consumer demand for premium bakery and cake mix products. So it's not just more cakes, it's better cakes people are buying, or at least wanting.
Got it. Premiumization trend. What about the rest of North America?
You also see strong growth in Canada. It's projected to more than double its market value, reaching around $190 million by 2033. That's an 8.8% CAGR, actually higher than the global average.
Interesting. And Mexico?
Mexico is expanding rapidly, too, expected to reach over $86 million, 86.3 mm by 2033.
And the report links Mexico's growth to urban consumption trends and a growing food service sector. What does that actually tell us?
It suggests that as more people move to cities and, eat out or buy prepared foods more often, the need for commercially produced bakery items just goes up.
Right. Restaurants, cafes, packaged goods.
Exactly. And those need consistency and stability, which is precisely where these emulsifiers and bases come in.
It's fascinating how something like urbanization directly impacts such a niche ingredient market.
Okay, moving over the Atlantic. Europe. It's a core market, right? Long-standing baking traditions there.
It is, and Europe's market is actually larger than North America's right now. It grew from around $435 million in 2021 and is projected to hit over $1 billion $1.07 billion by 2033.
For $1 billion. And the data shows steady expansion across key countries, like the UK, Germany.
Yeah, the UK projected at $216.07, Germany $187.09, France $134.05, Italy $113.02 by 2033.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
Italy $113.02 by 2033, all seeing significant increases, often nearly doubling their 2021 market value.
It's a solid growth across the board.
What's interesting in Europe, though, is you also see pretty rapid growth in places like Spain that once projected to hit $114.2 million, actually surpassing Italy. Oh, really? Spain's doing particularly well then.
Yeah, and even impressive movement in Russia, projected at $52.3 million. It shows the demand isn't just limited to those traditional Western European powerhouses.
Yeah.
Even smaller markets like Luxembourg, while tiny in comparison at $13.09 projected, are still progressing.
So that widespread growth, what does it reflect?
It reflects how these ingredients are just integral to maintaining consistency across really diverse product lines and also adapting traditional recipes for modern large-scale production.
Makes sense. So Europe, large, established, still growing solidly.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about one of the fastest growing regions mentioned in the report, Asia Pacific.
Yes. This is where you see the most dynamic expansion really taking off.
How dynamic?
Well, their total revenue is projected to almost triple, from $227.7 million in 2021 to well over $670 million, 673.6 MEPS by 2033.
Wow, triple.
Yeah, and that's backed by a notable CAGR of 9.5%.
Okay, 9.5%. That's definitely faster than the global average of 8.4 we mentioned. Where is that rapid growth concentrated within APAC?
China, no surprise, dominates the regional landscape. It's set to reach over $260 million, 268.1 million by 2033. Huge market.
Right. But it's not just China, is it?
No, not at all. You see substantial growth in India projected at $84.2 million, nearly doubling its value by 2033 from 2025 levels, and strong gains across Japan, $121 3M, South Korea, $54.06, and Australia, $46.05.
Okay, widespread growth there too. And the report mentioned Southeast Asia.
Yes, Southeast Asia also sees significant expansion, projected around $80.2 million, and it's fueled, much like Mexico, by rapid urbanization and increasingly westernized diets.
So similar drivers again?
Exactly. That shift in dietary habits, the rise of urban centers demanding convenient, consistent bakery products, these are massive drivers for these functional ingredients across Asia Pacific. It's a region that's really adopting global food production standards and consumer trends at pace.
Okay, fascinating region to watch. Now, turning to Latin America, the report also details growth across key countries there.
It does. Brazil leads the region, expected to more than double its market size from 2021 to over $87 million, 87.2 MBA by 2033.
Doubling in Brazil.
Who else?
You also see strong expansion in Argentina, projected at $30.2 million, and Colombia, its market is specifically noted as doubling to reach $23.4 million by 2033.
Colombia doubling too.
Yeah. And countries like Peru, $8.09 MBAs, and Chile, $15.07 M, are also growing steadily.
And this region, like others, reflects that increasing commercial production and changing consumer preferences pattern, right?
It does, yes. As economic development continues, you tend to see more packaged goods, more organized food service outlets.
Right, the infrastructure develops.
Exactly. And that creates consistent demand for ingredients that ensure quality and shelf life, which is what these emulsifiers and bases provide.
Okay. And finally, the Middle East and Africa. The report mentions trends there, too.
Yes, increasing consumption and more commercial production seem to be the story. Markets like Turkey and Egypt are seeing notable increases.
What are the projections? Turkey's market is projected to exceed $26 million, 26.4 M, and Egypt's reaching over $13 million, 13.4 M by 2033. The rest of the Middle East combined is projected around $16.02.
So growth there as well.
Definitely. This region is also moving towards more industrialized food production methods, driving demand for these kinds of functional ingredients.
Okay, so we've covered the globe, seeing this growth everywhere, really, but at different rates and maybe driven by slightly different nuances. The premiumization here, urbanization there. Let's try and connect the dots here for you, the listener.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen significant global growth driven by demand for quality, clean labels, indulgence, manifesting differently across regions. What does all this data actually mean for the cakes you see on the shelves, or maybe even bake at home?
Well, it means the bakery products you enjoy are likely becoming more, let's say, technologically sophisticated behind the scenes.
Okay.
That perfectly light crumb, that frosting that holds its shape beautifully for days, that's often the work of these emulsifiers and bases. They're doing the heavy lifting on texture and stability.
Right. And the clean label trend you mentioned, how did that play in?
It means manufacturers are actively looking for ingredients that meet those functional needs, the texture, the stability, while having labels that consumers feel comfortable with.
So less scary sounding names, perhaps.
Exactly, or ingredients perceived as more natural. This whole trend is pushing innovation in specific areas, like finding plant-based emulsifiers or simpler formulations.
And the massive scale of this market, growing towards $3 billion globally.
Yeah.
What does that tell us?
It just underscores the incredible value these unsung heroes, as you called them, provide. They are essential to delivering the quality, consistency, and yes, the indulgence that consumers increasingly demand worldwide.
They basically make modern industrial baking possible on the scale we see it.
Pretty much, yeah. It highlights how even seemingly niche ingredients play a fundamental role in the global food system, enabling the tastes and textures we often take for granted every day.
Okay, so the big takeaway then from this deep dive into the world of cakes, emulsifiers, and topping bases seems clear. This isn't just some small technical market.
Not at all.
It's a significant, rapidly growing global industry, and it's directly shaped by big consumer trends, wanting quality, wanting clean ingredients, wanting delicious indulgence, and it's enabled by ongoing advancements in food science.
Absolutely. And, based on the report's findings, it raises an important question for you to think about.
Okay.
How much of the global food industry's ability to deliver consistent, appealing products day in, day out actually relies on specialized, often invisible ingredients like these?
Good question.
And maybe what does tracking the growth and trends in these seemingly niche markets really reveal about the larger shifts happening in global consumption and ultimately food production itself?
Ever grabbed a slice of cake, maybe store-bought, maybe from that nice little cafe down the road, and just thought, how did they get it so perfect? The texture, how long it lasts, that amazing topping.
Well, today we're actually going behind the frosting, you could say. We're doing a deep dive into cake emulsifiers and topping bases. We've been looking at some source material from cognitive market research.
Right, and our mission today is to really unpack that research.
Yeah.
Pull out the key drivers, the challenges, the big trends shaping this, well, surprisingly busy market.
Exactly, extracting those essential nuggets.
This audio was created with podcastle.ai.
Well, surprisingly busy market.
Exactly, extracting those essential nuggets for you.
Okay, so let's get into it. What's really pushing the growth here? It feels like a lot comes down to just how busy we all are, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The demand for packaged, ready-to-eat cakes is a huge engine. I mean, think about it. Urbanization, more dual-income families.
Yeah.
People just have less time.
Makes sense.
So industrial bakeries, supermarkets, even quick service restaurants, they rely heavily on emulsifiers. They need that consistent texture, the longer shelf life, keeping the cake moist.
It's like those cakes that seem to last forever on the shelf.
Precisely. Big brands, Hostess Britannia perhaps, emulsifiers are absolutely vital for that.
And the topping bases, are they purely for making things look pretty?
Well, looks are part of it, definitely. But it's also about convenience and consistency, especially at scale. They give you that uniform, appealing finish quickly. And it's not just the mass-produced stuff either.
You mean like all the cafes and bakeries popping up everywhere?
Exactly right. The boom in commercial bakeries, cafes, dessert parlors, that's another big driver. Your local patisserie, a big chain like Starbucks, they need ingredients that work the same way every single time.
For that high volume, yeah.
Emulsifiers stabilize batters, help ensure even baking. And those ready-to-use topping bases, they mean consistent decoration, fast, essential in a busy kitchen.
Okay, but what about health? We hear so much about clean label now, plant-based, everything. How's that playing out here?
That's where a lot of the innovation is happening, actually. It's a major trend. How do you give consumers what they want? Healthier options, maybe allergen-free, but keep the functionality. It is. So you see a real push for emulsifiers from, say, sunflower lecithin instead of soy, maybe. And for topping bases that are dairy-free, completely vegan, this is really strong in places like Western Europe and North America. It ties into ethical branding, too.
Interesting. So loads of growth, innovation, but it can't all be smooth sailing. What are the main hurdles for this market?
Well, one really significant challenge is the volatility in raw material prices. Things like vegetable oils, dairy derivatives, their costs can jump around quite a bit.
Right.
And that directly hits production costs. It's especially tough for smaller manufacturers who, don't have the huge buying power of the big players.
Yeah, I can see that. And I imagine regulations are always a factor, always getting stricter.
They are, definitely. Food safety rules are constantly tightening up. You see it in the EU, for example, where some specific emulsifiers are facing more scrutiny.
Okay.
And things like mandatory allergen labeling. That often forces companies to reformulate, which means a lot of R&D effort and cost to make sure the new version works just as well and meets all the rules.
And you mentioned some regions where maybe the issue is just people don't know about these ingredients.
Exactly. In some emerging markets, think parts of rural Africa, South Asia, Latin America, there's sometimes low awareness or technical know-how. Traditional baking methods are still the norm.
So they just stick with what they know.
Pretty much. Smaller local bakeries might not be familiar with these functional ingredients or understand the benefits or have the technical skill to use them properly. So that slows down adoption outside the big cities.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. What about the future? What exciting trends are really shaping things going forward?
Premiumization is a really big one. Consumers are looking for more gourmet, sort of special occasion cakes. They want interesting layered textures, really beautiful finishes.
The Instagrammable cake?
Kind of, yeah. And that drives demand for more advanced emulsifiers and really innovative topping bases, maybe flavored ones like strawberry matcha, salted caramel. You see that in high-end patisseries, places like France or Japan.
Yeah, okay. Fancy.
Definitely. And tying back to the health trend, the whole plant-based and egg-free baking movement is massive. Emulsifiers are critical there.
Why is that?
Because they have to replicate what eggs normally do: structure, binding, aeration. It's a technical challenge. Brands pushing alternatives, like Just Egg or Oatly in the dairy space, they rely on functional ingredients like these to get the results consumers expect.
Right. And finally, something we all got a bit more familiar with recently, baking at home.
Oh, for sure. That post-pandemic surge in DIY and home baking, it's had a real impact. People found they enjoyed baking, but they still want convenience. They want it to work out well.
Less stress, yeah.
So that's boosted things like easy mix cake packs, which use emulsifiers for consistency, and things like aerosol toppings, easy decorating. Companies are definitely creating more user-friendly, shelf-stable products just for home bakers now.
So bringing this all together, it's quite a complex picture, isn't it? You got these huge global trends like busy lives, health awareness, but also cost pressures, regulations, even our own kitchen habits. It all feeds into this market for ingredients most people probably never even think about.
It really is. It shows that intricate link between what we want as consumers, global economics, ingredient science, all working together to make sure that next slice of cake is, well, just right.
So maybe here's something for you to think about. Next time you're looking at a cake in a shop, or maybe thinking about food labels, how might knowing a bit more about these hidden ingredients change how you see it, or even how you think about the rules that govern what goes into our food?
This audio was created with Podcastle.ai